Good evening, everyone. Gunneroo here for my match review and player ratings from the Sheffield United Arsenal game. So the game ended at Bramall Lane. Sheffield United won, Arsenal nil, and it was a lackluster performance to say the least. You'd think after an international break, 2 weeks off, most of our players training with the squad at the Colony, that would go out on the front foot and would attack Sheffield United, and that's what I said that we need to do in our preview. We can't sit back, we can't invite that pressure, and I think it all started going downhill once the starting 11 was released. To be fair, it was the wrong starting 11. It was a very defensively minded starting 11, especially considering Tierney wasn't named. I was straight away. That was the first thing I saw, and I was in shock. Couldn't believe it. So that was something I was a bit concerned with because he is fit. Emery came out in his press conference and said he was fit. He also said that Özil was back training really, really hard. He wasn't in the squad. Not that I care, but if he's going to be saying these things in press conferences, he can't be lying, and he's starting to do that. So he's got a fit Tierney on the bench, and he still persists to play Kolasinac, who was atrocious today. Anyways, I'll get onto that later. But yeah, the key thing was it was the wrong starting 11. It was yeah, we invited the pressure. I think once we conceded a lot of corners, they were always going to be dominant in that department in the set pieces, and they eventually scored with that, and then they sat back, and then we had to break them down, and that's something that we didn't have the firepower, we didn't have the creativity, we didn't have the spark to actually do that, and we played into their hands. So yeah, let me get on to my play ratings. So we'll start with Leno in goals. I thought he was pretty poor today, to be fair. In my preview, I did say that he was starting to understand whether to play out from the back or kick it long, and I think that this game he consistently kept playing it out from the back, even though we knew they were pressing. They were in full flight press. They had most of their players in our defensive half. If he had kicked the ball over, we would have been through. But he consistently decided to play it out from the back, and I'm not sure whether he's been told by Emery to do that. But Martinez in some of the Europa League games, he's understood. He's had that match awareness to know, boys, like I'm going long. You know what I mean? I'm not going to kick it out from the back, and that's something that put our players under the pressure a lot. And it was a bit concerning to see. There was a few long shots that he needed to save that swiveled, and he could have easily caught, but he sort of spilled a bit and nearly sort of conceded. He punched a ball out where he probably could have caught it. So it was a bit of a shaky performance from Leno, and I'll give him a 5. Okay, so moving on from that, we'll start with the right back position. I thought Chambers was fucking shit. He was the worst player on the ground. Absolutely atrocious performance. I was not happy with him whatsoever. I don't know what it was today. He just wasn't on it. Every time he got forward, he always lost the ball. Defensively, he was poor. He always put us under the pump, under pressure. He was doing all these fancy tricks, then we'd get caught out, and Pepe wasn't helping a lot in tracking back. I think it was an overall shocking performance, and I can't say that I would have played Bellerin because I did say I would play Chambers. He's been in some amazing form, but today was one of his worst performances of the season, and I think that cost us in a way because Emery likes to play with those fullbacks, and he had a shocking game. He didn't provide any attack whatsoever, and yeah, he just put us under the pump. Every pass he made was really concerning. So I'll give him a 1 out of 10. Pathetic performance. Moving on to Socrates, I'm going to give him a 3 out of 10. I thought he was horrible in the air. I thought he was shaky. He had poor passing when we had to pass out from the back. He had that one chance where it should have probably been a penalty for him. His shirt got pulled in the box when he had won the header. But apart from that, a piss weak performance. And that's a 3 for me. Okay, moving on to his partner, David Luiz. I thought he was the best defender for the day. I'm going to give him a 5 out of 10. I thought he was pretty solid, but there's one thing I want to say with David Luiz, right? He's won titles for Chelsea in Europe. He's won PSG titles. He's one of the most senior players in the team, and I did not see one bit of leadership quality from him at all. Kolasinac is next to you. You've got Chambers on the right. Socrates and Luiz should be the leaders of the squad, and they weren't G'ing up the team. They weren't doing anything. They were just sitting in their shell, just passing the ball constantly. They weren't telling Kolasinac what to do. He had no idea what to do. Every time he got the ball, he'd always pass it back. It made absolute no sense. Sick and tired of it. We brought him in to be that solid rock in defense, to show that leadership quality, to bring a better culture to the team, and I expected much more from him from this game. I thought defensively he was the best defender, but again, in comparison, he was pretty poor. Fuck, there's a spider there. Yeah, he was pretty poor. So I'm gonna give him a 5 out of 10. Okay, moving on to Kolasinac, 2, 100% 2. Nearly as bad as Chambers. He gave no attacking options going forward. He had one good cross to Pepe, who scuffed his lines. But apart from that, every time he received the ball, there was no option on the left. He always passed it centrally, so we're sidewards or backwards movement. He couldn't pass his player, and in terms of man marking, I think Muse, I think it was left by himself. Could have easily scored his second goal, but then he handballed it. So yeah, only just better than Chambers, but still fucking shit. So I'm gonna give him a 2 out of 10. Okay, let's see. Moving on to the midfield, we'll go with Xhaka, who got substituted. So I'm gonna give Xhaka. I'm gonna give him a 5 out of 10. I think he was pretty decent when he was on the pitch. He had that really good long shot. He didn't do anything wrong. I don't think he played really well, but he doesn't deserve to be scapegoated in this game as much as a lot of the other midfielders that I'll talk about soon. So I'm going to give him a 5. I think substituting, I'm not a big Xhaka fan, but I think potentially substituting him could have thrown the team off a little bit. I think Guendouzi got better once he came off the pitch, but still, I think potentially that we seemed more menacing with him on the pitch. But I can understand why he was taken off. So I'm going to give him a 5 out of 10. Moving on to Guendouzi, I think he was one of the better midfielders. He's still got that. Like I said before, he improved once Xhaka came off the field. I'm going to give him a 6 out of 10. I think it was just better than Xhaka. I think he still needs to go to that next level. I understand he's young. I understand we're giving him high praise, but I feel like he started to control the game more as it went on. But in the first half, he was missing a lot, and he wasn't playing those creative through balls that we know he can play. And that's what we needed to sort of unlock their defense. So I'm gonna give him a 6. He wasn't horribly bad, but he wasn't amazingly good as he has been consistently all season. Okay, so moving on to Willock. Willock's performance epitomizes the way we played last night. I think he was a ghost, pretty much. I didn't see him touch the ball once in the first half, and he got dragged at halftime. So I'm going to give him a 1.5 out of 10, just because I think Chambers was the worst player on the pitch, and so he got the 1. So I'm going to give Willock a 1.5. But I think he had no influence whatsoever in the game, and I'm very disappointed because I had a lot of faith in Willock. I think he just didn't turn up, to be fair, and I was very disappointed in his performance. Moving on to the front three, so we'll start off with Pepe. I think he was our best player for the match and in the first half. I really do think that. I understand that he fluffed his chances, and for 72 fucking million pounds, you should be tapping that in the back of the net. Whether he took it with his left foot, whether he took it with his right foot, you should be hitting the target. There's no excuses. Any other decent forward in the Premier League would have nailed that chance. So it's just unexcusable. And then that chance came when we were 0-0 in a key moment of the game where he should have converted. And very, very, very disappointed with him missing that. But I understand it covers his first half performance, but he was actually really good. He was driving forward, he was getting past players, he was opening up space, he was playing key passes, and I thought He's progressing more and more now. We're seeing more of his potential. He just needs to get better quality in the final third. He needs to finish his end product. I think he should be getting off our corners because they're always going to the near post. And yeah, overall, I think he was our man of the match. So I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10. Uh, Moving on to Aubameyang, I thought Aubameyang was fucking dead. I don't know. Wait, let me first say congratulations for his Ballon d'Or nomination. Very, very impressed. He's been killing it ever since he's come to Arsenal. But there was something today with his performance that I could just tell from the first minute that he didn't want it. You could tell his body language was poor. He was waltzing around. He didn't even have a shot on target. We gave him no service, let alone. But he wasn't trying to get involved. And when Lacazette came on, in 20 minutes he did triple the times more than Aubameyang did. So that says something about his performance. So I'm going to give Aubameyang, I'm going to give him a 2 out of 10. I think that was piss poor performance and not good enough to be honest compared to his standards. But he can be excusable given how well he's done this season. But I think in these sorts of games, we need him to step up. We needed him to step up in this game. So it was a bit disappointing seeing him getting nominated for the Ballon d'Or and then bottling this performance. Moving on to the left, Saka, I think, did fairly well. I'm going to give him a 3.5. Actually, I'm going to give him a 4 out of 10. I think he did pretty well. He had some good forward runs, but I think there's something about Saka that I think is potentially, you can tell that he's not yet at that stage where he can impact the game and he can kill and sort of create. And do you get what I mean? Like in the Europa League, had some shots, scored some goals outside the box. But in the Premier League, he's been driving forward. He's been making those runs. He's been getting us free kicks. But he hasn't had that end product yet. He hasn't had that side of goal. He hasn't had that clinical nature about him. And I think that's due to his age. But I don't think there's another thing I want to mention with this is that we can't just keep using his age as an excuse for him to play. I think you play on your performances, and if he's not performing, then he should not be in the team. We should give Martinelli a go. I think it was wrong for us to sell Iwobi. I think it was wrong for us to loan out Mkhitaryan and then not replace these sorts of players, because once Lacazette was injured, we had to shift the Aubameyang into the middle, and then we had no real options. It's good for our youth, but we're pretty dry in terms of squad on the left-hand side. So I think we've got a bit of concerns moving forward. Okay, so moving on to the subs. Who came on? I think it was, Unai Emery subs, I think they were positive, but then that shows how poor the starting 11 team was. I'll just quickly smash through this. So Bias, I think once he came on, he was very influential, direct. He played pretty deep. He kept receiving the ball where the centre-backs were, but he was shifting the ball around nicely, and we had a bit more creativity in the team, a bit more flow with our possession. So I'm going to give him a 6 out of 10. I was pretty impressed, and he should have started the game. Lacazette, I think I'm going to give him a 5 out of 10. He tried to hold up the ball. He tried to create. He's tried to bring players into the game. Didn't have a shot on target. And again, he looked like he was a bit off the pace coming back from injury. So I'm going to give him a 5 out of 10. And who was the last sub? Let me remember. Action. Oh, I'm pretty sure he took Pepe off for Martinelli, who was dead. He absolutely did nothing. And I think that was the wrong substitution. I think he should have taken off Saka. So I'm going to give Martinelli, can't really give him anything really. I'm going to give him a 3 out of 10. So all in all, some of the key points I've mentioned is that we, away from game, it's the same old story. It's fucking bullshit. We're not the team to go out on an away game and be on the front foot and show them and disrespect the opponent and show them who we are. We always invite the pressure, we concede, and then we're always on the back foot. I don't want to be starting to question Unai Emery. I think it's too early in the season to be Unai Emery out, but constantly making starting 11 poor decisions, I think, and we always end up being on the back foot in that regard. And with players being fit, let's say Holding we've got fit, we've got Tierney back fit, well, I understand Bellerin, but you've got your players fit now. We can stop making these excuses saying we don't have your natural fullbacks. That's the way you want to play. You had Tierney on the fucking bench and you didn't even play him. I don't understand that. And then you're saying in the press conferences, "Yep, Tina's fit. Yep, yep, Kolasinac had the international break. He's a bit tired." And then you go ahead and play Kolasinac. I think you're scared. I think you're absolutely scared, and you're a bit cautious in their approach in the away games. And I don't think that's right. I just want to finish off the video by seeing a few comments that I've read on Twitter from Arsenal fans, and I'll give them sort of a brief opinion on them. Xhaka came out and said after the game, what did he say? Let's have a look. We have to stop talking about the mental side of the game and bullshit like this. Ooh. I'm sorry to say that, but for me, it's the same whether you play at home or away. You have to win. You have to win and show big character and not look for the same excuse. Yeah, I understand why you're saying that as captain, but I don't see how that's helping anything at all. To be fair, yeah, whether you play home or away, it should be the same. You should be attacking on the front foot. You should be have a positive lineup. I mean, after all, we are Arsenal. We're not a team that just got promoted to the Premier League. No disrespect to Sheffield United. And we fell into their hands. They knew exactly how we were going to play out from the back. They were pressing us hard, and we literally fell into their hands. And um, yeah, I'll quickly just smash through this. Kenny Ken on Twitter said the players aren't nowhere near the standard of a top team. Yes, Emery is negative, but if anyone thinks an Allegri or Jose or Pepe can improve things with these sets of players, it's mistaken. If you fluke top four and genuinely want to be a top side, rip these teams to pieces, rip these team to pieces, and start again. I partly agree in a way. I think we've got a decent enough squad to make top four. I really do think that. I think we've got amazing squad depth, and um, I think Unai Emery doesn't really know his starting 11. I think he's chopping and changing way too much. He's sort of over critiquing and over analyzing games, and I think he needs to start to. I think we're progressively seeing a more consistent starting 11, but I think he needs to start being bolder in his decision making. And every single week, it's new mistakes. It's not the same old mistakes. It's not the same mistakes that people are saying, like Jamie Carragher saying that we had the same issues with Wenger, and the team hasn't changed. We've improved since Wenger, but it's just consistently different mistakes. One week we're conceding like 400 chances, and this week we're consistently playing out from the back. At home we're kicking it long. Like I just don't see any consistency in our gameplay, and I understand what Emery wants to do with these fullbacks, but when you got fucking Kolasinac on the field and when you got Chambers on the field, you're not doing yourself any favors. You've got Tierney on the bench. Fucking play the bloke. Absolutely ridiculous. Finishing off. This result was coming. We've been riding our luck. We're in a false position in the table. I've backed Emery blindly last season, considering it was a change after 20 years. I expected a lot better this season after a good window. Not seeing that. Not seeing that. Questions have to be asked. So I understand that we should be able to judge Emery at this stage, but I don't. I think it's a bit too early in the season to say Emery out. I think we should wait till Christmas, reassess where we are in the ladder, and move on from there. All right, thanks guys for tuning in. I'll probably do sort of a match review discussion about our Europa League game, but we've got a big game against Crystal Palace. We've got the Ivorian Zaha versus Pepe, and this is a must-win at home. And the last time we versed Crystal Palace at home, they pretty much cost us our Champions League position, so it should be a huge game. Gunneroo out.